Everybody, thanks for watching. Real quick, the Merkabah catalog is still available, as well as Frequency and Vibration Part 3, as well as the Guide of 2025. Make sure you guys grab those videos. We are working on a new platform. It should be up to date, a new platform. You guys get emails, or you'll see it in one of the upcoming videos. A lot of people ask about Never Pay Again membership. That is now available. Real quick, I'm only going to do it for 100 people. So grab it while you can. It's only 59 bucks. Never Pay Again. The people who just bought the Merkabah catalog, check your emails. You guys got the membership. So make sure you guys take advantage of these sales. The new platform should be going up today or tomorrow. Just take a watch for your emails. Flash drives are going out. We're working on books. A lot of stuff is up and running, a lot of stuff going on. So I appreciate the patience. Also, I appreciate the concerns, the emails from a lot of people asking me what's going on and where I'm at with the situation. You know, I came back because things are a lot better. So I'll work my way out of the situation I was in, and it just took, you know, some resiliency and just me knowing what I know to be able to put myself in a better situation. But I appreciate the concerns and people sending the emails and what have you. But everything is good. You know, it's just a waiting process at this point. I know I'm going to win my situation, so it's just a waiting process, and everything is good. You know, it'll be fine from this point on. And you know, you learn from mistakes, and you learn how to make different moves the next time around, which that's what I set myself up to do. But I appreciate the concerns and the emails and everybody just really being supportive of the whole situation. It takes a lot to really come on here and put out personal information and let people know what's going on in your life or what have you. But I have so many people around the world who actually care about Merkabah, what's going on in the academy and everything I've been doing over the last decade. So I really appreciate those people for being concerned and sending support or what have you. It's really helping me, you know, move forward and get through all the, you know, the bullshit. But, you know, I don't really let too much get me down. I've been through far worse. And it's just a process, and you know, process is definitely getting straightened out. But yeah, and yeah, I'm getting into these videos because a lot of people have not seen these older videos, and I'm getting a lot of feedback on these videos. I know most of you guys who've been following for years, you guys seen these videos. I'm talking about the videos I put out as far as these rundowns. So the rundowns are going out because it's going to be, you know, final parts to a lot of these series that I want you guys to understand what happened in the previous videos. So I'm doing the rundowns because I'm ending off a lot of these series to get into a lot of new series. So yeah, if you're seeing them, fine. Thanks for taking a second look. You probably want to do that anyway because there's a lot of information in there that you probably missed or didn't realize is really relevant. It's relevant right now. So a lot of the stuff, when you start, you know, jogging that memory and looking at a lot of stuff that you missed, because I've done that myself, it is really getting into a lot of stuff that's pertaining to today and what we're seeing today, and really opening up some doors into a lot of new information when you really pay attention. So definitely check out these rundown videos. I'm going to be posting them all week. But yeah, make sure you guys take advantage of these sales, and make sure you guys grab the memberships or what have you while they're still available. And yeah, thanks for watching. It's a big gap that is basically being, you know, looked over. It's not being talked about enough. A lot of people are not really digging into the history of it to get people to a better understanding of what took place. Because we look back, and everybody know about this, we see the black gods of Asia. You see the black gods of India. And we know that, you know, Krishna, and we know that Vishnu and all these black gods, you know, about the Sambo and everybody like that. All these Hindu and Buddhist gods were black. They were worshipped as black gods. All the gods was worshipped as being black at some point in time. We need to understand what happened, what took place to where the culture basically got rid of all their black idols. And understand this too, if you travel a lot, you see that, especially since I go to Thailand a lot, and in India as well, you see that the civilizations moved away from the ancient lands. That's another thing you got to understand. Why? You go back to different parts of like Thailand and India as well, Cambodia, they have the ancient ruins, and the space is basically really preserved for tourists and stuff like that. But you got to think, why wouldn't they want to live there? I mean, this stuff is beautiful, as you will see. Well, even if he was living primitively, if he was living off the land, why wouldn't you want to be near such beautiful history? And you got to understand why they disconnect with this history, why they disconnect with the indigenous people, and what basically took place. It's so much, it's so crazy, it's so deep, and we're going to get into it. Let's begin. Now, here's the thing. You have scientists that have been in agreement, you know, for hundreds of years about out of Africa.
the majority believe in the theory. And we're going to prove the theory here today. It's going to get proven 100%. And they know the truth. It's easy to prove when you pay attention to real recorded history. But we're going to prove it. But now, remember, out of Africa theory, we know the Africans came up. They crossed the Red Sea, crossed into Saudi Arabia, crossed the Persian Gulf, into Iran, and traveled up to Afghanistan, Pakistan, India, Tibet, what have you, and eventually migrated over to Asia, Australia, what have you. This is the out of Africa theory. We understand this. So it is widely agreed upon that this is what took place. Now, another thing that's agreed upon is we understand these were African people. These were black people. So when you look at that migration and the fact that they traveled across, they set up civilizations and they kept moving, you understand that these were African people. So the question you have to ask yourself is, one, on an evolutionary scale, what happened to them? How did, these tribes become Indian with the straight hair, Asian looking totally different with the Mongoloid features? What happened? And then, of course, we understand this evolution. We understand we make all races. So that's one thing that you prove and understand in there. That's one of the things that you go back to and look and see, well, okay, we see what happened. This has been proven by science as I got into. And the Andaman tribe and everything like that. Now, we understand that the Andaman, who basically is from, Indus Valley civilization, which is part of Afghanistan, Pakistan, India, we know that they are the descendants of the Africans that basically traveled over during this whole migration. The Andaman would be the descendants, and we see how they look, clearly black. Understand, we don't just have what we call, nappy hair or Negro hair, whatever they want to say. We had all kinds of hair. We had straight hair. We had curly hair. We had wavy hair. We have curly and wavy hair. We have a lot of different hair types, as you see clearly when you go in Africa. A lot of different hair types, a lot of different complexions that we can come in. So, again, when I checked, wanted to make sure everything was matching up, from the books that I read, Ivan von Sertima, Anta Diop, everybody was saying the same thing. So when I looked, it said exactly the same thing. Yeah, these people basically come from, the descendants. They are the descendants of the Africans that migrated over to the Indus Valley. But now this has changed. They changed the answer to that, and you can go into Wikipedia and you can actually edit it if you have an account or what have you. So this is what it's saying now. It says, it was previously assumed that the Andaman ancestors were part of the initial Great Coastal Migration that was the first expansion of humanity out of Africa via the Arabian Peninsula, along the coastal regions of the Indian mainland and towards Southeast Asia, Japan, and Oceania. The Andamese were considered to be a pristine example of a hypothesized Negrito population which showed similar physical characteristics and was supposed to have existed throughout Southeast Asia. The existence of a specific Negrito population is nowadays doubted. Their commonalities could be a result of evolutionary convergence and or shared history. Now, what they're basically trying to say is they're not 100% sure that the Andaman are from Africa, which, come on, they try to put it in such a way to where they cast doubt on who these people really are. But again, who else would they be? Where else would they come from? You got to understand how subtle this stuff is. It's crazy. It's loopy. One, you got the whole out of Africa theory. What other race of people could they be? In India, in Asia, what could they be? Well, we know that Africans migrated over there. What could they be from? Now, they talk about commonalities and everything like that, meaning they look African. They think that they basically, came together based on convergence, meaning that you had a different group of people come together with another group of people to create the Andaman. It doesn't matter. You have Africans come together to make Africans, if that's the case they want to go against. No matter how you slice it, we're talking about African people. Now, let's be real here. You can take a car and you can drive from Cairo all the way over to Mumbai. Plain and simple. It's one big landmass. So you can't even be, skeptical about the Africans coming up out of Africa and traveling over, towards India when it's one mass. It's connected. We don't know how much more connected it was back then. But you got to understand, it's going to be a lot of this kind of stuff we're going to see coming up, what they're trying to do. And to see that this is something new, that they changed this recently, is something that's real, it's alarming. It's like, okay, why would they change this? And you got to understand too, which we're going to get into about the Indian culture, everything that's going on in India, about why that thing is set up like that, why they deny their own people.
Hinduism and everything like that, about the whole caste system and how that was set up by the Europeans or the Aryans. And we got into all that information. Now, I want to get into, to start this off, basically the reason why they claim to have created Hinduism, and the attachment, the connection that the Aryans have with Hinduism, so to speak. So now this basically really goes back to Akhenaten, believe it or not. So Akhenaten's father was Amenhotep III, but his father-in-law was Tushratta. Now Tushratta was basically the king of the Mitanni tribe in Mesopotamia. So Mitanni and Mesopotamia, it's something that you're going to find a lot when you really start digging into this information. You'll hear about them. Now, the thing is, they don't know exactly what the Mitanni tribe was, what race they were. They believe they were mixed race. A lot of tribes back then was, of course. But the Mitanni tribe was a warrior tribe. And the whole thing with the Mitanni tribe and what they found in Mesopotamia is they found Indian gods. So they found Indra, Mitra, and Varun. So when they found these deities in Mesopotamia, they are, of course, not Mesopotamian gods. So the thing is, they figured, well, the language that these gods was written in Mesopotamia was in an Indo-Aryan language. So they figured that the Indo-Aryans created it or wrote it because, it's dated so long ago. So, of course, this is many reasons why you can find Indian gods in Mesopotamia. It could be, Indians traveling to Kemet who stopped and wrote something down. The information that they're giving us can be completely bogus. There's a lot of different excuses and reasons why they could have found what they found. But when you understand about these gods and their aspects, and again, as I always say, they expect you not to do no research, then you can understand the truth about these gods. So you got to really look at language. And of course, when you start finding stuff language-wise, you can't always, if it's not the first language, you can't always trace it back to those people. You got to make sure, especially if they was travelers, that they didn't pick it up from somewhere else, because it could very well have been written by an Aryan person, by a white person. They could have written it, but they could have picked it up while they was in India. They could have picked it up on their travels from India to Kemet or to wherever. So these are things you got to take into context. And you can't just, this is one of the things they use to give the Aryans claim over Hinduism, but you can't just use stuff like this and just jump all over it and give them claim to a major, faith because of something like this. So now, the date of these writings about these Indian gods goes back to the 14th century BCE. Now, prior to that, we don't find any Aryan writings, of these gods or really any type of gods. We don't find writings from Aryans about the gods that we know of. So, it's another reason why you can just kill that whole argument. And again, when these Aryans were traveling, it was picking up stories. And again, not all Aryans was in on conquest. Some of them was actually trying to fit in and just, start a family. Now, again, when you're doing your research and you start looking and finding these points or these civilizations or tribes where either the writer is saying we don't know the race, or they tell you straight out we don't know, the race of these people, or they was mixed race, or, Berber and stuff like that, the names they put out there, then this is, especially when it's pertaining to Mesopotamia and in that area, this is where you have the creation of the Persians and Arabs, plain and simple. This is where you see that those races being created, because what's happening is when you look at the area of the Persians, where the Persians was ruling at, you can see that this is basically the Indus Valley. This is what the Indus Valley was at. So you have, Mesopotamia, you have, of course, Afghanistan, you have Pakistan, you have northern India,
And this was basically the Persian territory for a while. We know it encompasses the Indus Valley. So what was happening was these Aryans was coming down and mixing with the northern Indians and creating what we know as Persians and Arabs. Now, just like the Chinese, who don't want to be compared with the Japanese or the Koreans or what have you, Persians don't like to be compared with Arabs and vice versa. But I mean, just like we could say with the Asians, come on, look at them. Y'all all look Asian. That's why we say Asian. They all look alike. It's the same thing with the Persians and Arabs. It's really hard to tell them apart unless you are Arab looking at an Arab or Arab looking at a Persian or a Persian looking at an Arab. They kind of sort of know the difference. But for the most part, this is where it was created. You had different civilizations mixing them with Africans, mixing them with the Indians, the Aryans coming down, and it was just mixing and creating tribes. And this is why you find a lot, and they don't always like to point this out, of course. This is where you find a lot of these tribes that they can't describe what race they was when they talk about the Hittites. Who was the Hittites? There was a mixed race. Some people would just flat out say, well, they was black, mostly black. But then others would say like the Hyksos and the Hittites probably was a mixed race or predominantly black or something like that. This is where you have the creation of the Persians and the Arabs and them beginning their conquest. And eventually, the Persians did create, a vast empire that ruled, for a long time. Of course, the Persians defeated the Egyptians, the ancient Egyptians, when they came into Kemet. So this is where all that stuff started. So when you start seeing that, you start to understand that this is all a part of the Aryans coming down, conquering in northern India, and basically just spreading out and really creating this agenda to take over. Now, you got to think about it. Even still, when you come down in a mixed race, and then it keep happening, and you have all these people, and then you have these tribes start forming. Of course, they still gonna kind of feel like outcasts, like they need to start, their own civilization.